Hey guys, it's Denise. I'm a manifestation coach. I'm not going to do the whole video like this, but I just thought it was super fun to play with. And look at how, the earrings just sparkle. I love it. All right, anyway, this is what I look like for real. So, today we are going to talk about mental diet. I want you to understand what the purpose of your mental diet is, what it does, and how to properly administer it, how to properly apply it, how to properly practice it. Because a lot of coaches or people out there are talking about just flip the thought, affirm, affirm, affirm. And yeah, that's kind of the mechanics of it, but there's so much more to it. And if you don't actually change the way you're thinking, change like what you believe in and what you think to be true, you can manifest things in and then have them suck once they get here or watch them walk on out. And trust me, because I've done it. I was very deliberate in a mental diet, and I still do believe mental diet is incredibly important. It's the foundation, yes. However, well, your state of consciousness is the foundation, but we'll get into that in a minute. However, just robotically affirming, which I was doing it before people, it was a thing that was like being named. This is years ago. I was robotically affirming. I was affirming every single time I wasn't engaged in conversation, and I manifested in a ton of things, including my relationship, and I also manifested it out over and over again because you can manifest something in by thinking a thought enough, but if you're not becoming the version of you that thinks that thought to be true, you're not going to be able to live in that reality. It's not going to stick around. It's not going to be how you wanted it to be, how you thought it might be, what you were trying to bring in, and it will dissolve in front of you. It will. I guarantee it. So that's why sometimes robotic affirming or persistent affirming really works. And like it works because it'll work where there's not a lot of resistance, first of all. So if you already have your foot halfway in this new self concept and you start robotically affirming, and then all of a sudden, you get the whatever the money you've been affirming for, yeah, that'll work because you were already starting to become that person that believed in that. But if you're starting with something that you have a lot of resistance to and you are entirely in this other self concept of that's impossible, I'm not going to get that, I'm going to make it happen though, I'm going to manifest it, you still, through robotic affirming or like a crazy intense mental diet, can manifest it in. But unless you really shift the way you think about yourself in relation to this thing, you will lose it like every time. So, like I said, I know because I did it. And I also, in that period of time, manifested for myself severe, well, it started off with fear, and then it turned into severe anxiety with panic attacks. And that lasted like 4 to 6 months. And I really want to support you in avoiding that. And I want to support your mental health while you're manifesting and up leveling your life. Like, I want you to succeed. I don't want you to stay on a hamster wheel of I keep getting it and losing it. Like, I want you to be like, oh, I got it. And now I get to just enjoy it and take my hands off the wheel and just be in it because it's reflecting who I am. So, that being said, I am a manifestation coach. I don't know if I said all this yet because I was like playing with the light thing, but I've been doing this full time professionally for many years now. And there's a link in the description box below if you would like to book one on one with me. And I actually just came out with not group as in multiple people, but group sessions, packages, multiple session packages, which is some of the feedback that I got as a coach for a long time. So there's that. And I think I said my name's Denise, right? I don't know. Anyhow, so I explained a little bit about my story with affirming and affirmations, and part of this, or part of that I touched on that I want to help you understand is that you don't have to be afraid of your negative thoughts, and you're not practicing a mental diet so that you can never have negative thoughts. And if you do have negative thoughts, even a lot of them, that doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything wrong, and it's not bad. Okay? So that's where I want to start with all this is like I want you to understand that as you're doing this and practicing your mental diet, if you start to notice, wow, I have a whole lot of negative thoughts, like a lot, and this one or these several keep coming and they're so intrusive, like that's all okay. Don't worry. You're not trying to bury the thoughts, you're not trying to eliminate the thoughts. You're learning to disempower them. And that comes through what you put your awareness on, what you put your attention on, and how you start to think about yourself in relation to what you want. Okay? So, that being said, as you start your mental diet and as you're practicing affirmations, the first, I'm going to give practical applications with examples at the end of the video, but I want to start by setting the foundation and you having a clear understanding of what your mental diet is. So the first part is for you to practice awareness before you even jump into it. Like, sit with it for a few days and monitor yourself and maybe take notes, maybe journal at the end of the day. Like, what were you dominantly thinking? What were you dominantly feeling if you don't even know what you were dominantly thinking? And then learn and observe those thoughts, and that's going to tell you your self-concept, right? So you manifest your entire reality. Your whole physical reality is the manifestation of your state of consciousness or your concept of self or who you believe yourself to be. They're all the same, but that's what all of this is around you. So your mental diet is an indicator and a tool for your state of consciousness. So the thoughts that you think day to day, when we look at them and look at the dominant ones, those will explain or show you what state of consciousness you're in. So, for example, if you are in a state of consciousness of lack, your dominant thoughts throughout the day as it pertains to money, wealth, abundance, even time, resources, will be from the perspective of there's not enough, oh, I'm worried, how am I going to do this? I didn't wake up in time, now I don't have enough time to get ready, and there's not enough of this in the world, and you'll just see the world in lack. You will have your own experience of lack. You'll be fearful about not having enough to make ends meet or to get things done or whatever, that you're not doing enough, that there isn't enough. And you will see the world in lack, much of it around you. And so that's showing you that's the state of consciousness you're residing in. And then your mental diet as a tool is used to or designed to or will help you shift into a new state of consciousness. However, if you are just affirming something and saying it 10,000 times a day just for the sake of thinking you have to think it 10,000 times a day, you're likely not shifting how you think. You're not shifting what you actually believe to be true. You're not practicing to think from the end of the person who is abundant. You're just trying to bury that self-concept and those old thoughts with this new thought over and over and over again. And so, sometimes robotic affirming will work. Like, my experience is that prior to manifesting all that anxiety and panic, I was robotically affirming. And this was before people were even talking about robotically affirming. Like, I had never heard it termed that way. But I was affirming every time I wasn't engaged in conversation, like a robot, constantly. And a lot of the things that I was affirming for, if not all, maybe not all, but a lot of them, most of them came in. I succeeded in manifesting many great things and many of the things that I wanted to manifest. However, the bigger ones and the more important ones wouldn't stick around. So for me, it was finances and relationship. So I manifested in my SP over and over, but I also watched him walk out over and over. I manifested like sums of money to float or get me through or like let me whatever. I remember one time I manifested $20,000 and that was amazing, but it was gone within less than 6 months. And I didn't have, I bought like an $11,000 car, but and so I didn't change who I was, so I could manifest things in, but I couldn't keep them and I couldn't get them the way I really wanted them to be. And I couldn't take my hands off the wheel. I had to constantly affirm and constantly mental diet and constantly da da da. And yes, your mental diet becomes a way of life, but if you're doing it the right way, it just becomes your way of life because you start to think this way already. And then you're refining your mental diet in other little areas, but it actually changes to where you don't have to keep mental dieting for the same thing for the rest of your life in order to keep it around. And that's what I want to support you with. And that's what I want you to understand is that you can affirm all day, every day and get things to come in. And you can keep affirming all day, every day to hold on to them, but it's not going to be what you think it is. You're not going to be getting the feelings that you were hoping this manifestation would bring you to begin with. And so you'll likely push it out and repel it and it'll fall apart. So when we think about thinking, I'm going to break it down into two ways of thinking, and I'm going to use an analogy, but you can think a thought. I can instruct myself to think a thought. I can think the thought, I am chosen, right? The act of thinking, to think it, I am chosen. Then over here, I can actually think this thought. I can think it to be true. I can believe it. I can think from knowing I am. Two different ways, two entirely different ways. This first way where you're just thinking the thought is what a lot of people are practicing. Just think it, just keep flipping it, just do it, just do it. But they're not actually like penetrating into the concept of themselves that doesn't really think it and doesn't really believe it to be true and doesn't think it's possible for them. And that's what your mental diet should be doing. Like that's how you utilize this tool to change your self-concept so that you can manifest everything that you want because you become the version of you that believes you can have it. And again, like you manifest what you believe, you manifest what you assume to be true. So if someone's looking at you and saying you don't have to believe it to manifest them or to manifest it, please don't listen to them. Like, okay, that can be true, but what that does is gives you the hope and keeps you from doing the work and just keeps you on a hamster wheel of either always bringing it in, but it's never really what you wanted and then losing it, or never being able to bring it in and feeling like you're doing something wrong. And that's not true. So I'm here to tell you, and you're probably not going to like it, but yes, you have to believe it. That's the whole point. You manifest who you are. You manifest your state of consciousness. You manifest what you assume to be true. So yeah, if you want an amazing relationship with your specific person, you want to believe that. You need to believe that shit for it to stick if you really want that. If you just want to manifest the person to come into your life so that you can keep affirming for the rest of your life that they'll never leave, they'll never leave, they'll never leave, they'll never leave, you can do that too. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong, but figure out what you really want and then understand that your sole intended purpose of a mental diet and flipping your thoughts and affirming is to become the version of you that thinks that's real and true and believes in it. So yes, I want you to believe in your affirmations. What that doesn't mean is you have to believe them to start, right? Like you don't have to believe something to practice thinking from that version. You don't have to believe it to contemplate it and ponder it and get in touch with it. You also don't have to believe it to manifest in some evidence of it or even it in general. But like I said, if you really want it, if you want it to just stick and you want to just be in it and enjoy it and take your hands off the wheel, then yeah, you want to believe it. And so when we talk about robotic affirmations, I just realized my segue is and so, whatever. When we talk about like robotically affirming, it's like, and the two different ways of thinking, right? Like you can just think it, the act of thinking, or you can think it and believe it and be like, yeah, that's who I am. Yeah. It's like, I will compare it to swinging a bat in baseball. I have this bat. It's a real small bat, I know. And I want to be a really good baseball player. So I'm going to practice swinging this bat 10,000 times a day. Because if I swing it 10,000 times for 21 days, I'm going to be reprogrammed, right? I'm going to know how to do it. Nah, that ain't it, but let's give it a shot. Okay, I'm standing here, I'm swinging the bat. Look at me, I'm swinging it, and I'm counting, and I'm going to get to 10,000. I'm going to do it all day. This is the same thing as the act of thinking a thought. I'm chosen, 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 I'm chosen. It's the same thing. I'm not going to get better at swinging this bat. I'm not going to hit the ball. I'm not going to become a baseball player. But I am, by definition, swinging the bat. And I am going to do it 10,000 times. So, same thing, right? If I really want to learn how to hit the ball and I want to become a baseball player, I have to swing the bat from the version of me that knows how to swing a bat. I got to get in form and, put my feet where they belong and swing the bat. Practice that 10,000 times a day. Oh, but guess what? I don't have to practice it 10,000 times a day because I'm practicing it the right way. And because I'm practicing it the right way, I'm becoming that version. I'm becoming the swinger of the bat. I'm becoming a baseball player. I'm becoming a good hitter because I'm swinging as if I already am one. Same thing with thinking your thoughts. You've got to think them like you already are it. You've got to think them like that version of you that has that thing. So, if you are feeling and wondering what that is and how that looks like, this is where we get into the practical application of it. Your practical application starts with observation. Become aware of how you think, first off. Don't try to, like I said, don't try to jump into it and change it all right now and just become this miraculous mental diet monster that's like amazing and has everything, whatever. Like, first off, be transparent and aware. Who are you? What state of consciousness are you thinking from? Period. Start with that. Observe your thoughts for a few days. And when the negative thoughts arise, when you notice that you're thinking from a concept of lack or from a concept of not enough or from a concept of whatever you would describe it, not worthy, not chosen, when you're thinking those thoughts, especially when 3D is doing things to reinforce those thoughts, at first, if you have a lot of resistance to this other way of thinking, I want you to start saying, that's not necessarily truth. Or whatever. You don't have to use my exact words, but that doesn't have to be true. That's not totally true. That's just a perspective I'm holding. That's just me thinking it from this self-concept. That's just me believing something that I've, reinforced within myself that doesn't have to be true and isn't actually true. That's just where I've been residing. And like start playing with it like that first. You don't need to, I'm chosen, I'm chosen, I'm chosen 1,000 times because you just had a thought or a reaction that made you feel like you were important and you weren't chosen. Instead, I want you to look at how you're feeling in this moment, acknowledge it, not try to cover it up with I am chosen, I am chosen, I am chosen. Acknowledge I'm feeling not chosen. I'm feeling not good enough. That means I'm thinking and perceiving my reality from the concept of I'm not chosen and I'm not good enough. But is it actually true that I'm not chosen and that I'm not good enough? Or is that just something that I've created as an illusion because it's something I've believed to be true? Wow, maybe I am good enough. Maybe there is a version of me that does feel like they are good enough. Maybe I am chosen. What would it be like if I were chosen? What would it be like right now if I were chosen? What would my life have looked like if I knew that I was enough to be chosen? What would be different? What will my future look like knowing that I'm enough to always be chosen? What will be different? How will I feel? How will I think? How does that version of me think? How do things look from the perspective of always enough, always chosen, always loved? How do things feel from that perspective? What does it feel like? What do I see? What am I hearing? What's happening in my reality? What's different about that perspective from this other perspective? That's how I want you to do your mental diet. And you might not have time in each moment to do all of that, but that's why you practice your mental diet in your day-to-day with awareness. A lot of it is about awareness. And then at night you take time and you go within and it's quiet and you reflect. And that's where you go, okay, this is where I spent most of my time today. This is the version of me I thought from a lot today. And then you go into what would it have been like to think from this end, from this version, from this concept of myself? How would that have felt? And all the other examples I just gave you. And as you do this, especially, for a few days, as you start to do this, you will naturally start catching yourself throughout the day with these other thoughts. You will naturally, you've now created a relationship with this new version and this other way of thinking because you've deliberately chosen to invest in that relationship. You've set time aside to invest and build that relationship, which means when you go to work the next day or when you're hanging out with your kids and all these thoughts start coming, it's going to be a lot easier for you to naturally go, I don't know, maybe this instead. And that's how you do your mental diet. You don't have to obsessively and, from the state of fear and control, try to flip every single negative thought you have and not let anything pass because it might manifest, and be careful and watch out. We have so many thoughts a day, that would be ridiculous. I don't have time for that shit. I have 60,000, 70,000, I don't know, 80,000 thoughts going through my mind in a day. I do not have time to play gatekeeper like that. Like, that shit needs to be on automatic. So you build a relationship with the version. You start to familiarize yourself with thinking that way. And you do it deliberately when you have time to really do it. Because the contemplation part is huge. It will shift your concept so drastically. I promise you, like, this is what worked for me. This is what has worked for so many of my clients, the ones that stick with it and do it. Like, this is what works. And this is what will work faster than trying to repeat a thought 10,000 times a day because you think that's what you need to do to bring it in. This isn't magic. You're not like, there's no magic number. There's no, do this for 21 days and this is how you'll get that. No, it's about becoming. You're becoming someone that actually thinks different. And the noun, or the to think different part, comes from practicing to think different. It comes from practicing to connect with, what if I believe this were true? What if, right? So that's how you do your mental diet. And if you want support, I think I said this, I don't remember. There's a link in the description below. Oh yeah, I said all that. I told you all of it. I just want to go over my notes and make sure that I said all the things that I wanted to say. So yeah, practical application, again, would be like, if we're using the example of I am chosen, right? It wouldn't look like me just pounding in I am chosen all day long. It would look like me going, oh, how many thoughts did I have? And I don't have to come up with a number, but how often was I thinking things and interpreting things and assigning meaning to things that I wasn't chosen, that I wasn't good enough to be chosen? And does that have to be true? Like, what if I did feel like I was chosen? What would be different? How would I have interpreted that scenario if I felt like I was chosen, or if I always knew that I was enough to be chosen? What would my life look like if I always thought I was chosen? What would be different? How would I feel? How would I think? What types of thoughts would I not think? What types of thoughts would I think more of? That's how you do your mental diet. All right? So, you guys are amazing. You're powerful. You can do this. I believe in you. I can do it. You can do it. We can all do it. Let's all do it. And let's level up our lives. All right. Thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thanks for being here. And I will see you all next time. Bye.